And brother, the Lord could reveal all kinds of stuff. The UFOs. Nobody knew that Christ was going to return. No church ever taught that Christ was going to return.
No, you're absolutely right. Because if a church did do that, they would be lying. Because that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says when he comes back, he's coming back with all of his angels. 1,000 times 10,000 times 10,000 is going to be unimaginable. That's what he's doing. And he's coming back with all his power and glory and majesty. He's not coming back on a UFO. Like, what is dude talking about, bro? Like, do you see like the the non-biblical doctrine that is found within some of these groups? Like, it's ridiculous, bro. It's starting to get to the point where the Bible is really coming to fruition, where it talks about, you know, people giving into seducing spirits and lying doctrines and false doctrines. This is false as ever. Where is dude getting this from? I would like to ask him that. Because it's not the Bible. You might see it on some hieroglyphic stones or cave mountains, or some people talking about it, or saying that they had the depiction or vision or whatever situation may be. I don't know. But you're not seeing it in the Bible. That's what I'm getting at.
That Christ was going to return in flying saucers. It was like a joke when we brought it out.
I'm not going to lie. It still is a joke.
Once again, Chief Priest Gazak went in and was doing the research, checking the records, and said, wait a minute, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? Ancient paintings with UFOs in it?
This man is not getting his information and resources from the Bible, so therefore he's lying, and it's a lie. There's no truth to what he's telling you guys, or anybody for that matter.
Aliens. So what does the Bible say about life on other planets? It doesn't say anything for or against, really. I suppose that it's possible that God could have created an infinite number of planets like Earth, but the Bible simply doesn't say. But I can be sure that the phenomenon that we've been seeing for the last 60 years or so, the UFOs that people report and the alien abduction testimonies that we hear, are definitely not from beings from other planets. Let me read some quotes from people who've been studying this alien phenomena that we've been experiencing. Now, these are people that are not necessarily Christians, but they are really big names in UFO research, and they do a lot of study about it. They say things like, one theory, which can no longer be taken very seriously, is that UFOs are interstellar spaceships. Arthur C. Clarke said this in the New York Times Book Review. Also, George Crichton, in a 1992 Flying Saucer Review policy statement, says there seems to be no evidence yet that any of these craft or beings originate from outer space. This is an interesting one from Lynn Cato in a report that she did for the U.S. Air Force. It says, a large part of the available UFO literature is closely linked with mysticism and the metaphysical. It deals with subjects like mental telepathy, automatic writing, and invisible entities, as well as phenomena like poltergeists, manifestations, possession. Many of the UFO reports now being published in the popular press recount alleged incidents that are strikingly similar to demonic possession and psychic phenomena. Here's an interesting one. Dr. Pierre Gurin says, UFO behavior is more akin to magic than to physics as we know it. The modern UFO knots and the demons of past days are probably identical. John Keel said, the UFO manifestations seem to be, by and large, merely minor variations of the age-old demonological phenomena. Trevor James says, a working knowledge of occult science is indispensable to UFO investigation. Another one that I think is really interesting is with Whitley Strieber. He's possibly the most famous alien abduction case, and he wrote the book Communion, which was wildly successful. He says, I felt an absolutely indescribable sense of menace. It was hell on earth to be there in the presence of the entities, and yet I couldn't move, couldn't cry out, couldn't get away. I lay as still as death, suffering inner agonies. Whatever was there seemed so monstrously ugly, so filthy and dark and sinister. Of course they were demons. They had to be. And they were here, and I couldn't get away. And I think that the best evidence of all is the fact that certain people that have experienced so-called alien abduction have reported that when they called out to Jesus, the attacks totally stopped. It didn't matter if they thought they were on some spaceship being tortured or whatever, they were immediately back in their bed. Oftentimes people experiencing this are people that have been heavily involved in the occult or magic, and there are a few other reasons, but the large majority of them have opened up doors in their life in this way. I personally know the people involved with the ministry to help people experiencing these attacks, and they now have hundreds of testimonies of people on their CE4 research group website of people that have ended these encounters with these demonic beings by calling out to Jesus and ending them for good by giving their lives to him. Their mission statement on their website says, "The mission of CE4 Research Group is to share with the world the most powerful evidence known that exposes the alien entities for who they really are. That evidence is in the testimonies of those who have overcome the experience, the oppression, the bondage, the harassment, the control, the lies, the deception that these entities perpetrate by calling out in the name and authority of Jesus Christ. Through this evidence of the testimonies, we will be able to help others. The world asks for this evidence, and we will give it to them. We share this evidence through any means of communication available." 2 Corinthians 11 says, "And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works." Satan and his demons can pretend to be good. They can literally change their appearance and pretend to be whatever the person is interested in. Now, they can't just show up to anybody on the street, and the person has to be doing this occult type of stuff before they could manifest. 1 Timothy 4:1 says, "In the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils." I think this shows that these spirits are seductive and that they in fact write doctrines of some kind, or convey doctrines at the very least. Now, oftentimes when someone lets a demon into their life, the demons want people to go out and spread the message that they told them. They want them to start a blog or start a publishing company, or they want them to go out on a world stage and go on the lecture circuit and all this stuff. But the messages that they want people to spread usually can be summed up in about 5 different main messages. They kind of mix and match, but it usually has something to do with one of these 5 messages. Number 1 is that you are God, or you can be like God if you do certain things. Now, this is an old trick of Satan, and I'm sure people remember that way back in the Garden of Eden, Satan said, "When you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God." So one of the first lies ever recorded was Satan telling humans that they could be like God. The next one is that there is a coming age of enlightenment, or an evolution of humanity. And this is actually what the term New Age means. The next one is that aliens are somehow our genetic ancestors, and then we can become like them. Almost every movie for the past 20 years has had some kind of theme like this. The reason it's so important, in my opinion, is that if you believe that aliens are real and they are in some way our creators, then you have to throw away God. And if the aliens are simply more evolved than us, then we would naturally think that we one day could be evolved like them, that we could gain all the powers and the technology like them if we evolve to their level. The next one is that there are certain people that are holding us back from the evolution. And this is a really scary one if you think about it. When you read these things that they're saying in these writings, it's really awful, because they're talking about how there's a certain group of people out there, which usually means Christians, that believe in these old fairy tales of the old age, and that they simply won't go along with this new evolution. And they say that those people must be destroyed before the evolution can really begin. And the final thing is that magic and the occult practices are good. There are just many books and movies and television shows, even on the Disney Channel, that are saying that magic is good, it's a way to get power and all this stuff. And this one is obvious. We've been talking about it. Demons don't have a way to access us unless we start to do these things and give them legal rights. And so they trick us into doing these things and making us think that these things are good, so that they can begin to mess with us and draw us in even further and open up bigger doors. Yes, there is some supernatural things that happen, but if you know that those supernatural things are the result of demonic activity, it's really not that mystical or fascinating, and it's obvious why we shouldn't do them.